the Money Goddess podcast. I'm your host, Jasmine Thomas Bridges, and I am so excited to share with you this episode all about a 9 to 5. What I have learned over the past 8 years of being an entrepreneur, working a 9 to 5 before, and then the secret's out. I'm actually going to go back into a 9 to 5 in conjunction with my businesses. So, I want to talk to you about how you can still have a great life with the 9 to 5. I want to talk about the narrative. I want to share everything, my entire journey, and what it has been like. I want to be honest, raw, and truthful because I think there is this thought process that a 9 to 5 is just this terrible thing. If you have a 9 to 5, you aren't living life, you are stuck on a job for the rest of your life until retirement. Like, the truth of the matter is that is not the case. And I want to share with you how to make the most of your 9 to 5. I also want to dig into how to build your business, what to do when there's fluctuations, all of those things, because we all go through a lot of things in our lives that make us either want to have and keep our 9 to 5, or we want to venture out and do something new and different. So I am telling you everything. I'm giving you the tips, the honest truth, because I think that there are these pie in the sky, as my husband would say, type of realities of what entrepreneurship is like. And it is a long, hard journey. And I want to share with you how you can make the best out of what you have and move forward. So if you are viewing this live, hello, welcome. If you're tuning in on the radio or podcast, feel free to email me, she's worthy2017 at gmail.com, if this resonates with you. So let's dig in. First off, I want to tell you about my story in terms of quitting my 9 to 5. So let me give you guys a little bit of background about me. I started off as a teacher, an elementary teacher. I am also certified in secondary. Education is still my passion. I still am a consultant. I travel the world. Like, this is what I love to do. As a teacher, there were a lot of things that I got to benefit, but there were also like some drawbacks. And this was before COVID. So teachers were not making a whole lot of money. I started off, I think my salary was like 45K, and that's because I decided to like go to another state. If I would not have gone to another state, I would have started off at about 33K a year. And for me as a single person, 33K was not enough money for me. But 45, okay, that's not like bad. And then to know that there would be a trajectory, there would be potential bonuses, I made the move. And to go from working in college and only making about 10K a year to then going to 45K was a huge jump. And I was ready and excited for the opportunity. So I really want to be like super transparent, and these are some things that only my personal friends know, colleagues, all of that. As a teacher, I went through so much that first year, whether it was sicknesses, I dealt with envy, jealousy. A lot of people in the field that were supposed to be mentoring or coaching me really were upset because I was so far ahead in advance. Like, I student taught in London. So, of course, there were going to be things that I knew that would work, but I was still learning. And I also was a very humble person. And in addition to that, what I also learned is just people in general. And this episode is not going to be like, I have notes, but it's going to be more so me just giving you what I got. But no matter where you are, whether you're on your job, you're in your business, whatever, people are people. And I know sometimes people get discouraged with jealousy because that still happens to me, even as a consultant. I'm dealing with something now in HR. So it's just kind of one of those things where you just have to really be strong in general to have a 9 to 5, to deal with people. And at that time, I was 22, 23, and I was just young and learning. And, that wrecked me. Being so young and having people hate me for no apparent reason when all I've tried to do is help, be positive. I started clubs, activities. Like, I was doing all of these amazing things to propel the school forward, and I still did not have the best experience. And so I winded up eventually leaving out of that area, and my husband and I, we got engaged, and so I moved back down to where we live now. And I was working in another setting, and I had a positive experience. I had a really, really positive experience. But a couple things happened. One, my pay went down a little bit. I wasn't too worried about it because it wasn't much, but that was just like, okay. Then, not the first year, but going into the second year of being with that particular school, they started taking our lunch breaks. So we normally would have a lunch break where we could actually eat for at least like 20 minutes. And then we would take our students out for recess. Certain people had duty and things of that nature. And then they took our planning. So at that point, we weren't getting the breaks that we needed. Like, I couldn't even sit and eat. I couldn't plan things. And I reported it to the teachers union or group that we were a part of, and I'm paying $50 a month for this. And I told you the salary. Like, that's not much. Like, I need that $50. Actually, I think it was 50 a paycheck, if I'm not mistaken. So that's $100 a month at that time. And it's like, okay, you're supposed to be advocating for me. You're getting all of this money. Well, they told me, talk to your principal. Hello? I did. That's why I came to you. Nothing worked out. And I asked even if I could cancel the membership. And they were like, no, you have to wait until next school year. Oh, okay. Another thing happened that kind of pushed me out the 9 to 5 was I had gotten my master's degree. And so back in the day, master's degrees were a big deal. You would get like $5,000 for doing, that extra work that would give you a boost in your salary. Well, I think it was a bonus. I don't think it was a salary. So it was like a one-time thing. $5,000 split across a year of paychecks. Okay. But now, at that time, it was $500. I thought I was going to get the $500, up front. No. They wanted to split $500 across all 26 paychecks. Yeah. Thank you for those of you who are still with me during this story time. Listen, I don't know if you guys have gone through things on your 9 to 5. Like, we're not going to pretend like things don't happen. We're not going to pretend like, 9 to 5s are perfect, because they're not. And neither is entrepreneurship, which I'm going to get into that in a moment. But that, for me, I can't have my lunch. I can't have planning. I get my master's degree and spend all this money, and instead of giving me a one lump sum, you decide of $500, it wasn't much. You decide it needs to be split up and taxed every single paycheck. Could not. Like, I was just like, where is this going for me? And I did want to step into leadership, but I did not want to be a school leader, like a principal, because I was shadowing my principal, and I noticed that I didn't like her role. I felt like her hands were always tied. She had to do whatever, like, that specific network or district told her to do. So it just wasn't like something that I felt was going to be achievable. And let me tell you, now I have a backstory. So 7, 8 years later, I found out the role that I was going to take It might have been the next year or the following year. Someone else did that I know, and they wound up hating working in that role. Not just because of the role. It wasn't the role itself. It was the people that she was working with and for. So it wasn't meant for me to step into that particular role. And now I'm getting to the juicy part about going into entrepreneurship, right? And what that's like, and now coming back into a 9 to 5. So let's talk about that. I winded up quitting. It was November 15th. 2017. And that has always been like a big day, a big important day in my life, because at that time I was 25. Entrepreneurship was just new to me. It was something that I wanted to explore. I had already built my business for a year, and I had made the same amount as my salary. And that kind of felt good. That felt good to like be able to generate that much money because I'm replacing my salary, right? Then the next year, I winded up getting into 6 figures. Then the next year, it just kept growing and growing, which was good. Building businesses, let's talk about it. They are not for the weak. There's a reason why people go back to 9 to 5s, and I have a ton of reasons. I'm going to talk about all of them, but I just want to be very clear. I'm still going to be an entrepreneur, even though I'm going back into my 9 to 5, but I'm going to do it different. And what I mean is, when I first started my businesses, as I was building them, everything was mainly service-based. I had a service-based business where I would not only like give my services, but there were also services that I would have other people to service out. So I had my educational company, I had people that worked for me, and they did the service. So I was always making a form of passive income. But here's the thing. Yes, it can be passive, but you still have to manage. Like, let's dispel that myth. There is a such thing as passive income, but there is still sometimes in certain types of passive income, a certain level of work that is associated with it. And I think a lot of people don't consider how significant it is. They just hear passive income and they think, hey, look, it's time to get it. We making this money. No, that's not always going to be the case, because you may have to take phone calls. People can cancel, get sick. There can be all types of things that happen, and you have to be ready and prepared for, and you have to be on guard, because it's not just, you do this and you're chilling all the time. It's not like that. And another thing too is I recognized as well. So not only is the workload service based, now I am more into passive income where I have product based businesses. I no longer do services, because that, for me, that's not sustainable. That's not something I want to do for the rest of my life. It is better for me to have like active income that I actually go and do, because that was another thing. During my entrepreneurial journey, I personally missed being active. I missed going out and being there with people, And I'm going to get into like COVID and all of those things that happen, of course, to make us switch into the virtual setting. But it's just so many different things that I didn't get in an entrepreneurial journey. And although I set those things up and I did all that, I've been on this journey full time for 7 years. So I've had a lot of experiences. It's not just 1 or 2. It has been a lot. So in building my businesses, I want to be very clear that it took time. And my husband shared something with me that was maybe 2-3 weeks ago. We were in Vegas celebrating our anniversary, and he said something to me that I've heard him say a bunch of times, and I'm like, what do you mean? Teach me. Because I feel like he expected me to understand. So he was like, you have a fantasy mentality. I'm sorry, what? I didn't get What he meant, I'm like, you think I live in a fantasy? Like, you think I'm not grounded? Like, what is it? He said, you have very unrealistic goals, and then you're hard on yourself when you don't hit those goals, when in reality, you're not setting yourself up to achieve. You're setting yourself up to like surpass things that you haven't even achieved yet. And that really opened my eyes, because what people are promoting online about quitting your 9 to 5s, I think they're doing that today, and they were doing that when I saw it, many years ago. What I'm learning is that it takes a long time to build an actual business. The average business only makes about $40,000 a year in the US. That's the average. So if your business is making $40,000, you're considered doing well. Very few people can make 6 figures in businesses. It just doesn't happen. And then you have people that make multiple. Then you have people that make millions. That's not typical growth. That's not realistic. And then the next question is it even sustainable? So you really have to get clear, especially if you are wanting to have a business. Like, you need to know these realities. You need to be faced with this, because when I tell you, I used to beat myself up so bad about things that are actually a normal part of entrepreneurship. Okay? So let's talk about 2018. So I had just quit my job as a teacher the year before. Everything's going well. I've expanded into different areas. And the one area that I expanded into, I had an issue with the landlord. They basically hired a cleaning company that cleaned out all of my stuff, not the old stuff. And it made me have to shut down business, because I'm like, okay, if this has happened to me, this has to be a sign from God. Like, this is not my time to expand here. But that was a loss of about anywhere between 20 to 30K of revenue for that summer. And I was like down. I was down. I was so hurt by that. I felt like a complete failure. When now that I look back, Jasmine, first of all, why are you expanding out so quickly when you're only one person? 2, why are you feeling bad about something you had no control over? 3, why do you think that these things don't happen in business? Right? I had a naivety about me, or naivety, however you say it. I just didn't understand that, you know what? Businesses lose money. The companies that I now contract with, they losing money. These are big billion-dollar companies in educational technology. They're losing money too, because COVID funds are drying up, which I'm going to talk about that. All of these things, like, they happen. And that's what people have to understand. We have 9 to 5s because there are big companies that can take those hits that we can't. I built my business from the ground up. I have shared with you all. I come from poverty. My mom only made $10K a year when she was raising my sister and I after my father passed away from a massive heart attack. Like, you have to understand, I didn't go into my business with $1 million, or, I fundraised and my mom gave me $5,000. I didn't get any of that. I used my business, I used my 9 to 5 for a year to kind of fund it, and then I left. What I'm saying to you is that we use 9 to 5s, or we can use them as a hedge of protection for our wealth and building our businesses, because businesses take money and they take time, period. And I've heard people say that like, I know someone who has, I think in the past 6 years, their revenue was like 24 million, which is incredible. But she said, like, she's always had to have money. And she's a product-based business, not even a service-based business. She's a product-based business. But the point is, when you don't have access to that capital more and more and more, you eventually are going to have to either cut, take down certain things, or you're going to have to go back to work and fund your business. And there is nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that, because you don't always have the means to keep doing this. That's what makes entrepreneurship so brutal. In a lot of cases, is because you have to keep going, even when the going gets tough. And so that looks different for everyone in every season. So now I want to talk about this COVID boom that happened with me in entrepreneurship. My business actually, at first, it wasn't like when it first hit, obviously I couldn't meet. But as time went on, my business kind of boomed, and because I was able to be virtual. But once the COVID boom was over, guess what? Yeah. And it happened in a short amount of time where I was like making like, okay, good, we're doing good. We're doing good. And then it went down again. And unfortunately, the mental health was not there. It wasn't. It was, I was sad, and I was like, I'm tired of going on this roller coaster. Like, I really felt like something bad was happening to me. When now I see, girl, that happens all the time. You just have to adjust. That's why these companies do layoffs. They do all of these things. But we as entrepreneurs, as individual entrepreneurs, don't think about it like that, because we're thinking, okay, we're doing all the right things. We're taking all the right action. We're making all the right steps. Why is this not working out for me? It's not working out for you because this is a part of business. There are ups and downs, and you have to protect yourself. That's why I wanted to come on here and talk to you about the beauty of having your 9 to 5, because there's so much good in it that I think gets overlooked. Now, don't get me wrong. If you have a job that is affecting you negatively, you're not able to be promoted or advance yourself, like, of course you want to get yourself into a better situation. But I'm talking about where you can actually find something that works for you, and you can build your business the way you want to, in a way that is more sustainable for you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to end this first part because I have so much juicy information about more background information to help you understand how you can build your business, how you're creating it, what you want to do moving forward, how to use that 9 to 5. Like, I'm going to get into more details, but stay tuned because you don't want to miss this. I'm telling you, it's going to be juicy, really, really good. So make sure you are